1965, your grandmother walked into a bank in Melbourne and asked to open her own account. The bank manager looked at her, smiled politely, and asked where her husband was. She wasn't allowed. Not without his permission, not without his signature. If you think 1960s Australia was just about different cars and old-fashioned clothes, you're wrong. It was a completely different world with rules that would shock you today. Today we're looking at 9 forgotten everyday things from 1960s Australia that will genuinely surprise you. 1. The 6 o'clock swill. Every pub in Australia shut at 6 p.m. sharp, not 11 p.m, not midnight, 6 o'clock. This wasn't a suggestion, this was law, had been since World War I. So what happened? Absolute chaos between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. every single day. Blokes would finish work at 5, sprint to the pub. You had exactly 1 hour to drink. The pubs knew this. They'd line up glasses along the bar, 20, 30 beers at a time, pre-poured, going flat. You'd scull them. Fast as you could, no sitting, no relaxing, just drinking against the clock. The bars were designed for speed, not comfort. No chairs, no tables, just standing room. Pack in as many drinkers as possible. The publicans made a year's profit in those daily 60 minutes. They didn't want anyone getting comfortable or drinking slowly. The floors were covered in sawdust to soak up the spilled beer. The smell was rank. Stale beer, cigarette smoke, sweat. Fights broke out constantly. Blokes trying to get served. Push was ing, shoving. Everyone desperate to drink as much as possible before closing. 6 p.m. hit, doors locked, everyone stumbled out into the street, drunk, aggressive. Heading home to their families in that state. They called it the 6 o'clock swill, and it was absolutely insane. This didn't end until 1967 when they finally extended pub hours. But for most of the 60s, this was normal, just how drinking worked. 2. Smoking absolutely everywhere your doctor smoked during your appointment. The nurse smoked at the hospital reception desk. Your teacher smoked in the classroom. This isn't an exaggeration. This is exactly what happened. You'd walk into a hospital waiting room and it would be thick with smoke. Ashtrays overflowing. Everyone lighting up. On airplanes, half the cabin was smoking. You'd sit there breathing it in for hours. Couldn't escape it. No choice. Office workers smoked at their desks. All day. Ashtrays piled high with butts. The whole building reeked. Pregnant women smoked. Nobody questioned it. Doctors didn't tell them to stop. Some doctors actually recommended it for stress and nerves. Have a cigarette, love. It'll calm you down. Medical advice from actual physicians. You go to the supermarket and the checkout person would be serving you with a cigarette hanging from their mouth. Ash falling onto the counter. Kids would run down to the shop to buy cigarettes for their parents. 20 Alpine for Dad, please. No questions asked, no ID. Required. The TV had cigarette ads between cartoons, telling kids how cool and sophisticated smoking was. Restaurants? Smoke everywhere. You ate your dinner surrounded by it. This was just normal. Nobody thought twice about it. Now we know it kills you, causes cancer, destroys lungs. But in the 60s, everyone smoked. Everywhere. All the time. 3. Beach inspectors measuring your swimsuit. You're at Bondi Beach on a Saturday afternoon. Hot summer day. You're wearing your swimsuit. A bloke walks up, official badge, tape measure in hand, beach inspector. He's here to measure your costume. This actually happened. Real job, real enforcement. Your swimsuit had to meet exact specifications. Women's one-piece had to cover from neck to knee. Men's trunks couldn't be too brief. The inspector would literally measure, pull out his tape, check the length of your suit from shoulder to hem. Too short? You got fined or kicked off the beach entirely. Women wearing two-piece swimsuits? Absolutely. Not. That's indecent exposure. Police would arrest you. Men in Speedos or brief trunks? Same thing. Had to be baggy board shorts that covered your thighs properly. Anything else was considered obscene and offensive to public decency. They had regulations. Actual written regulations about acceptable beachwear, published by local councils, enforced by paid inspectors who patrolled the beaches daily looking for violations. You couldn't just wear what you wanted. The government decided what was appropriate for the beach. Foreign tourists would get fined constantly. They'd show up in European-style swimwear, get measured, get told to leave. Some beaches were stricter than others, but every beach had rules. Every beach had inspectors. This didn't fully end until the early 70s. But through most of the 60s, someone was measuring your swimsuit at the beach. Absolutely ridiculous now. but deadly serious then. 4. Women couldn't get their own bank account. A woman walked into a bank wanting to open an account. The bank manager asked for her husband. She couldn't do it alone, not until he signed, not until he gave permission. This was law, not a suggestion, not a policy. Law. A married woman legally couldn't enter contracts without her husband's consent. A bank account was a contract. She could work, earn money, but she couldn't control it without his signature. Want to buy something on hire purchase? Husband's signature. Want to apply for a credit card? Husband's permission. Want to take out a loan? Husband had to co-sign. Single women had slightly more freedom, but even they faced massive obstacles. Banks would ask if they planned to get married soon. If yes, denied, because they'd just quit working and couldn't pay it back. Women were seen as financial risks, too emotional, too impulsive, couldn't be trusted with money. That was the actual reasoning, written in bank policies, taught to bank managers, completely accepted as fact. This wasn't rare. This was every bank, every woman, every transaction. Your grandmother lived through this. Your great-grandmother definitely did. Women couldn't control their own money, couldn't have financial independence, couldn't leave bad marriages because they had no access to funds. This started changing in the late 60s and early 70s. But for most of the decade, this was reality, absolutely wild to think about now. 5. Everything shut on Sunday morning. You need milk, you're out of bread. You need petrol. Too bad, everything's closed. Not just closed early, completely closed, locked up, dead. No shops, no supermarkets, no petrol stations, nothing. This was called Sunday trading laws. Businesses weren't allowed to open on Sundays. Religious observance, day of rest. You had to buy everything you needed on Saturday. If you forgot something, you went without until Monday. Run out of nappies on Sunday? Too bad. Your baby's wearing tea towels until tomorrow. Need petrol? Should have filled up yesterday. You're walking. Even restaurants were closed. If you wanted to eat out on Sunday, you had exactly one option. The local Chinese restaurant. That was it. The streets were empty, deserted, like a ghost town. Some states started changing this in the late 60s. Others held on to it until the 80s. But for most of the decade, Sunday meant one thing: staying home, whether you liked it or not. That 7-day-a-week shopping we take for granted now didn't exist. Sunday was a dead day, completely shut down. 6. Banned books and censored magazines. You wanted to read a book? The government decided if you were allowed to. Australia had some of the strictest censorship laws in the Western world. Customs would seize books at the border, banned, prohibited imports, destroyed. Not just pornography, literary classics, award-winning novels, books taught in universities overseas. Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth, banned. Tropic of Cancer by Henry Miller, banned. Catcher in the Rye, banned in some states. Even Peyton Place was banned. A best-selling novel that was controversial but hardly obscene. Police would raid bookshops, seize stock, arrest booksellers for selling prohibited material. Magazines got censored too. Customs officers would go through imported magazines with black markers, literally black out anything deemed inappropriate. Photos, text, entire pages. You'd buy an overseas fashion magazine and half of it would be blacked out. You couldn't see what was underneath. Couldn't know what you were missing, The censors decided what you could read and see. Customs had banned lists, thousands of books, updated regularly. Bookshops had to check every title against the list before importing anything. Get caught with a banned book? You could be prosecuted, fined, criminal record. The government controlled information, controlled culture, controlled what ideas you had access to. This started loosening in the 70s. But through the 60s, Australia was a censorship state. Books were contraband. Reading was controlled. Knowledge was regulated. 7. Doctors made house calls. Your kid's got a fever at 9 p.m, you called the doctor. He came to you, not the emergency room, not a 24-hour clinic. The actual doctor came to your house. He'd show up in his car, black bag in hand, let himself in. He'd examine your kid in their own bed, check temperature, listen to lungs, look in throat, write a prescription, tell you what to do. Then he'd leave. You didn't pay on the spot. He'd send a bill later. Sometimes you paid it, sometimes you didn't. He kept coming anyway. Middle of the night, he'd still come. No complaints, no extra fees. Just came. Sundays, public holidays, didn't matter. Doctor made house calls. This wasn't emergency services. This was general practice, standard medical care. Every doctor did it, expected it. built their day around it. Morning surgery, afternoon house calls, evening house calls if needed. They knew your family, knew your medical history, knew your name without checking notes. The local doctor was part of the community, part of the neighbourhood, always available. Then bulk billing came in. Medicare changed everything. Suddenly it made no financial sense to do house calls. Doctors stopped, started working from clinics exclusively. Now, you drag your sick kid out of bed, drive to a crowded waiting room, wait for hours. But in the 60s, the doctor came to you. 8. National Service Conscription Lottery. You turned 20 years old. Your birthday came up in a lottery. You were drafted. No choice, no exemptions unless you were medically unfit. National service, compulsory military training. 2 years of your life, gone. They draw birthdays out of a barrel, like bingo. Your date came up, you were in. You got a letter. You're required to report for national service. You had to go, leave your job, leave your family, leave your life, basic training. Then you'd be sent somewhere, maybe to Vietnam, maybe not. But there was a real chance you'd end up in a war zone, fighting, getting shot at, dying. Thousands of young Australian men got conscripted and sent to Vietnam through the 60s. Many didn't come back. Others came back broken, traumatised, changed forever. You couldn't say no. Draft dodgers got arrested, jailed, criminal records that destroyed their futures. Some blokes fled to other countries rather than fight, left Australia entirely, became exiles. Your parents couldn't protect you. Your girlfriend couldn't stop it. The government owned you. This wasn't volunteering. This was being forced to potentially die in a war you might not even believe in. Young men had no control over their own fate. One birthday lottery determined everything. National service ended in 1972, but through the 60s, every young man lived with this threat hanging over them. Your 20th birthday might mean war, might mean death. That's how it worked. 9. TV signed off at midnight. You're watching TV late at night. Movie finishes. Then nothing, not more shows, not ads, nothing. The national anthem played. God Save the Queen. You'd stand up in your living room, hand on heart, stand there until it finished. Then the screen went to static, that loud hissing sound, the black and white fuzz. That was it. TV was over for the night. Didn't start again until 6 a.m. the next morning. You had 3 channels. ABC, Channel 7, Channel 9. That's it. No Channel 10 yet in most places. Those 3 channels all signed off around the same time. Midnight, maybe 1 a.m. on weekends. If you wanted entertainment after that, read a book, listen to the radio, go to bed. No late night talk shows. No movies until 3 a.m. No 24-hour news. TV was a limited resource. It wasn't always available. You planned your evening around it. The show starts at 7:30. Don't be late. Miss it? Too bad. No recording, no catch-up, no streaming. Gone forever. Now we have infinite content. Endless streaming. Every show ever made available instantly. But in the 60s, TV had an off switch, and the TV station used it every single night. 9 forgotten everyday things from 1960s Australia that shaped how people lived. Some of them are shocking now, dangerous, illegal, unthinkable. Others just show how much freedom and independence people had, for better or worse. We've gained safety, equality, and convenience. But we've lost simplicity, trust, and a certain kind of resilience. The world changed completely in just 60 years. Which one of these surprised you the most?